Welcome to the TLS 450 Web-Enabled Overview Training. This training will cover connecting to the console and general navigation with Web-Enable. Web-Enable is a remote interface using the TLS 450's Ethernet card. Web-Enable uses SSH protocol for communication. SSH, which stands for Secure Shell, creates a secure channel between your computer and the ATG. Web-Enable has the following requirements: Internet Explorer or Firefox, port 443 open on the customer's network, and software version 4A installed on the TLS 450. Let's begin with connecting to the console with Web-Enable. Launch Internet Explorer or Firefox. In the address toolbar, enter https:// and the IP address of the console. A security certificate screen will appear. This is expected since Web-Enable is using SSH protocol. Select Continue to this website. If this is the first time you are connecting to the console, the username and password is guessed. Once you log in, Vita-Root suggests that you change the username and password. We will cover this later in the training. Web-Enable supports 10 different languages. Using the pull-down menu, select the desired language. Once the username and password have been entered, click on Sign In. Web-Enable allows up to 3 users logged into the console at a time. The 4th user trying to log in will see a message notifying them that the user limit has been met. For this reason, Vita-Root suggests you log out once you are done with your inspection. Now that we've logged into Web-Enable, let's examine the home screen. At the very top, the console type and software version is imported from the console, along with the date and time. Next is the alarm and warning indicators. If you press any of the alarm icons, you will go to the active alarm report. To the right, the current user is displayed and the icon to log out. Also, Web-Enable has an interactive help menu to assist you with diagnostics and setup. The second row includes the home icon. When you press the home icon, you will be brought to the System Status Tank screen. To the right of the home icon is the breadcrumb section. The breadcrumb shows you where you are in Web-Enabled menu. This is a read-only field, which is updated any time the screen changes. On the left side of Web-Enable is the main menu selections, including Diagnostics, Reports, Setup, System Status, and System Administration. Selecting any of these main categories will expand the category and allow access to entries within that specific category. If you see an arrow next to any of the subcategories, this indicates there are more selections in that category. Let's examine the setup menus, and we will walk through a probe and tank setup. From the main menu column, select Setup. You will notice these selections are in alphabetical order. If you are using Web-Enable, there is a logical order to program a console. You should start with date and time, which can be done through the GUI. Headers should be next, followed by Device, Tanks, Product, Tank Charts, Pumps and Lines, Inventory, Delivery, BIR, and finally Automatic Events. If you follow this order, you will cut down the number of setup data alarms and possible programming issues. For our training, we will cover a few of the setup functions. Let's begin with Device Setup. Select Device under the Setup menu. Using the pull-down menu for Type, select the device that you want to program. Next, the device ID. For our example, we are going to program Probe 1. Web-Enable will display the fields necessary to program a probe: Configured, Address, and Label. Once you enable the probe and select the address, press the Save button at the bottom right of the web page. This will populate the probe serial number and probe type. Next, select the float type. If you use custom floats, you will need to program fuel and water offsets, water minimum, and invalid fuel levels. To program another probe, select the probe ID from the ID menu. To program another device, select the device from the Type menu. Once all devices have been programmed, you are ready to move on to tanks. In the Setup Tanks menu, there are 6 submenus. To begin tank programming, you will need to go through all of the submenus. We suggest that you go through all the menus for a single tank before moving on to Tank 2. Select the General tab, and then in the Tank field, select which tank to be programmed. Once the tank has been selected, the program fields will be enabled for editing. Once the general fields have been programmed, move to the Limits tab. you will need to reselect the tank from the pull-down menu. General, Limits, All Tanks, Chart, and Environmental Test setups are fairly self-explanatory. We will now review how to create a siphon set. Select siphon sets from the tank menu, and then select a siphon set from the pull-down menu. From the variable tank selection, click on the right arrow to move a selected tank into the siphon set. Tanks do not have to be enabled to be programmed in a siphon set. The next step is to program products. The product menu is divided into two areas. The top selection is where you assign a label to each product. From the pull-down menu, select the fueling position to be labeled. Next, click on the Change Label field and enter the fueling position label. Once all the fueling positions have been labeled, you will need to map the products. This is the second area of the screen. For each enabled tank, select a product from the pull-down menu. We will now review the report selection of Web Enable. With Web Enabled, you're able to view alarm, BIR, inventory, delivery, and environmental reports. When you select the alarm report, the active alarm report will be displayed. To the top right is the Acknowledged Alarm icon. Pressing the Acknowledge icon will silence the alarm and move any alarms which have cleared to the alarm history reports. To view one of the other alarm reports, use the pull-down menu. The BIR report will display the reconciliation report, test report, and book variants. We will start by looking at the reconciliation report. In the product pull-down menu, select the product you want to view. The reconciliation report has the ability to report by shift or daily records and summaries, or just records and summaries. Also, on longer reports, you have the ability to filter the report by date to further define the reporting period. The test report will display the results of each BIR testing period. Please review the help files for specifics on other report features. The diagnostic menus are similar to the diagnostic GUI menus. Diagnostics included in the Web Enabled include AccuChart, mag sensors, meter, tank test, tank, PLLD, probes, relays and inputs, sensors, modules, and BIR. The system status has three submenus: tank, sensor, and about. The tank status is the home screen view. By clicking on the magnifying glass at the bottom right of each tank, that tank view will be expanded and display the current field readings and set points for tank alarms and warnings. The sensor status screen will display the status, model, and category of each program sensor. The About screen displays software and hardware serial numbers along with installed features on the console. The software part number includes the version number. In this example, the version is 4A. The hardware description lists the serial number for the CPU, iButton, USM, and I/O boards. If you forget the password, you will be asked by tech support to provide the CPU serial number and the date on the console to create a one-day password. Install Features lists all the features available on this console. System Administrator allows you to enter a new password for Web Enable. Once you change the password for the administrator account, you will also be able to add users and roles. This gives you the ability to restrict what functions operators are able to perform.